Yes, welcome back. Next Levels, episode 2. And these late nights are mad. Like, imagine I've just come back from work. Obviously, I work in the evenings. It's late right now, but I'm still working. Yeah, still working, recording, you know what I mean? So, why not? Obviously, Next Levels, the next episode 2, here we are. And it's going to be a little bit different today. Obviously, last time, from the first episode, I was talking about the highlights of my day and stuff like that. I think that day was just, a few things happened. Whereas today, there's not much things I could think of except for personal things, you know what I mean? It's more a case of what people have told me. And that's just like news for them kind of thing. Like, I don't want to mention their business, you know what I mean? So it's more of a case like, well, for me, not much has happened, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to go straight into the topic. And the topic today, and bear in mind, is that obviously when I'm talking about a particular topic, every week, whenever I'm talking about a particular topic, obviously I'm going to be going into other subjects as well. I'm going to be branching off because I naturally do that. It's not like I'm doing it on purpose. It's just something that I do. I just end up talking about something different. But then obviously I'll come back to the topic. So don't watch that. So anyways, the topic today, and I've literally just thought about this within the last couple minutes before doing the episode, or around the time I was, just started the episode, I was thinking about it. And that is parents, how to be a good parent, or try your best to be it. Like, I'm not gonna, obviously I've got kids, but I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm the best of parents. I'm not gonna say I'm the best father in the world. I'm not gonna say that. There's many mistakes we make as human beings, let alone being a father, or being a husband, or being a brother, or being an uncle. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's perfect, but at the end of the day, there's things that we have to address and things that we have to speak about, especially knowing the fact that there's people who are parents, right? And they're either doing great or doing bad. They're not doing too good. And that starts within yourself. Like, if you can love yourself, then you can love other people. It's that simple. And if you have self-hatred, obviously that's going to spill onto your kids. You're going to end up showing them hate without you even realizing. So yeah, and that's why people get traumatized and they go through stuff. Some people get abused and, all these kind of things. I could say by the grace of Allah, alhamdulillah, I haven't had a bad childhood. You know what I mean? I haven't had some crazy upbringing. Alhamdulillah. Obviously, we weren't rich. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, isn't it? Qadar of Allah. And yeah, man, what can I say? Like, obviously, when it comes to parenting, let me just start for myself now, like, because I'm a parent, I'm a father. I would say it's beautiful, it's amazing, it can make one change, like, it will just make you change, innit? I can't really speak for anybody else, but I speak for myself. And also, I've heard other people say the same thing, that it's changed them for the better. There's people who were in and out of jail. As soon as they had a kid, they changed. And that might be just the fact that they've had kids rather than they've settled down, because we see that many times that it doesn't work out between the parents, and they separate, and you'll find that the father in many cases has gone on to have more kids. And I guess that doesn't really help the situation, but at the same time, you can't stop yourself from moving on. And some people, they move on with a person and they just end up having kids. It's natural. So with that being said, now their children have stepbrothers and stepsisters, and that's how it works, you know. And then you got some people who just disappear. Sorry, they just disappear, gone. You don't see them again. You know what I mean? And this happens with many fathers. You know, even there's mothers that do it. I know it's very rare, but there's mothers who disappear, and they, you know, don't look after their kids. But obviously, we know that this is very common when it comes to fathers disappearing. Right? It's very common, especially amongst, unfortunately, Caribbean. Although I don't like to use the word Caribbean, right? Because you know the old school Jamaicans and old school, you know, people from Antigua and Guyana, or you know what I mean. That the old school ones are usually just there, both parents. Like it's normal. Like in the 70s, you know what I mean. It was normal to see both parents married. Like, you know what I mean. That was just normal, right? For black people, especially like Jamaicans and stuff. But so when I'm saying Jamaicans or when I'm saying people from the Caribbean, I'm talking about their parents were from the Caribbean, and so obviously that makes them Jamaican ethnicity wise. But obviously they're British born. You find that there's a lot of British born people with, you know, Jamaican parents who are not around for their children. You will find this in many cases, and I'm sure, you know, it's not just a race thing. You find there's many other people who, or many other parents rather, who are not there for their children and have just disappeared, completely gone, like just not in their lives. Whether they're Asian, white, Hispanic, you'll find this Mexican. You'll find this all around the world. Yeah, like there's parents who just disappear, whether it's the father, the mother, both parents, and then the kid ends up going to care. Parents, you know, they end up on drugs, taking drugs, and you know, because of that, now the children haven't got a good upbringing, and now they have to go to what do you call it? Care. They have to go to care and be taken care of by someone who's not even their parents, or by people who are not even blood. They're not even got the same blood. You know what I mean? Not family, because you know, obviously you find that there's some people who maybe grandparents who take on the children, but in a lot of cases you will find that that's not the case, and they go straight into care. No family around. They weren't raised to see their uncles, aunties, grandma, nothing. They got no family. And this happens, is very common, you know what I mean? So, I mean, there's just, everyone is different. You'll find some parents are just, you know, are there and it's floating about. There's some that's just disappeared, you know. Everyone's got different situations. So, yeah, man, like, all I can say is, because I feel like a hypocrite kind of giving advice when I don't think I'm the best of parents, or a best of fathers, rather. Although I am there for my children, and I would say part of that being is the fact that I'm with their mother, right? I'm married to their mother. I'm married, you know. We are both we're together. Do you know what I mean? So my kids are growing up seeing their parents together, which is something I never saw, right? And that's another thing, right? Some people who are in my position might feel like they're affected, you know what I mean? Sometimes I think, like, do I affect my kids in a wrong way? Like, do I don't know, maybe I treat them in a certain way just because my father wasn't around. Like, there's times where I feel like, obviously I believe that I treat them like a father should treat them, but I feel at the same time maybe, or is this a possibility that I sometimes wish I had what they had, and that is two parents together, married, you know, a happy household. Not saying that my upbringing wasn't great. I'm not saying that at all. Like, the fact that it was just me and my mother was a lesson well learned. Like, it was just I can't even explain. I feel like maybe it's because my mum was so good at being a single parent that I didn't feel as if I was um, like 100% needed my father around. I needed my father in my life, if that makes sense, but I don't think I would have been bothered that much if he lived with us. You know what I mean? You know, like the fact that my mum was a single parent. I never see my dad at home. Obviously, maybe when I was small, but I can't remember. I was too small. But yeah, just in general, knowing that um, okay, so my father wasn't in the household, right? He wasn't around. He wasn't with my mum. He was split up with my mum. They weren't together. Um, Neither were they married. You know what I mean? There's so many things. Like my mum wasn't Muslim at the time. Alhamdulillah, years later she's reverted to Islam. Like all these things, it happens for a reason, innit? But I've always, sometimes I think, wow, what if my mum was Muslim from before, and like she was happily married in a Muslim marriage, and I was raised as a Muslim, and you can think about all these things, yeah. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't make you who you are today. So whatever you've gone through in your life, just know that you should obviously say Alhamdulillah, praise be to God in all circumstances, because you never know. That situation could have just saved you from many other ill circumstances, or bad situations that could have came out of not being in a situation that you kind of disregard and see as a big problem. Yes, there's trauma involved. It affects you in many ways depending on how you've been brought up and the situations that you've been through, and whether you've been abused, whether you've gone through this and that. Like, it's gonna affect you, no doubt about it. But at the same time, things happen for a reason, and sometimes it's just out of it. What comes out at the end is just far greater than how it was before, obviously, and then you kind of just see the light through the tunnel, if that makes sense, or at the end of the tunnel. So with that being said, we have to just realize that whatever's happened has happened for a reason, and we just gotta carry on and get stronger. It's only gonna make us stronger, innit? As they say, what doesn't kill you can only make you stronger. So yeah, man. Like, one thing I do want to say is, at the end of the day, everything is written, and you know what I mean. You can't change that. Like, everything's written. And it's so deep when I think about it. It's like, you find like there's parents out there who, like, for example, let me just talk about the father, right? So you'll find fathers, right, who are there for their children, but there's no love, right? And I'm sure there's many people out there that can relate, because I've heard people speak about this, right? I've heard people speak about this. They've had their father there, so they'll turn around and tell the next man, look, yeah, I know your father weren't there. My father was there, but he didn't show no love, so it just felt like he wasn't there anyway. And that makes sense, because your father can be there, or mother, both parents or whatever, they could be there, but there might not be no love there. Do you know what I mean? And so you try to get love from elsewhere, and this is why a lot of people end up in gangs and stuff, because they feel loved around their gang members. They just feel, or just their friends, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's not even a gang. It's just a group of friends who you feel like you're more close with than anybody else in your family. Do you know what I mean? And that needs to be changed. Your family should be the first people you think, like, that you wanna not run to, but you know what I mean, like, know that they're there. You know what I mean, kind of thing. You should always have that feeling like, I ain't gotta turn to a next man like and ask for help or this, that and the other. Like, sometimes, just knowing that your family is there for you fills the void. You know what I mean? It makes you feel a lot better, and it helps you in many ways. So um, I know that's rare. I know we don't really find that these days. Um, and yeah, man. And like, like obviously with like many fathers here, will, from what I see, it's hard for me to talk about fathers. Very hard, because I haven't had my father there to watch him and see how fathers are. And obviously every father's going to be different, every dad's going to be different, yeah, but there's still going to be someone like him, or other fathers that are like him, or like this father. And you know what I mean? It's all going to be kind of relatable to what men do, especially when they become fathers, right? And how they act. And so I never saw that. Do you know what I mean? I can only look at myself in the mirror and be like, okay, thumbs up, you're doing well. People are saying you're a great dad. Alright, cool. Let's run with that. You're a great dad. And that's what I think in my mind, like, I'm doing great. But that's only because other people will tell me that. Or, you know what I mean? I've heard people say that. So, and that helps, because more times you don't think you're doing great. And like, when people say that you're there for your kids, that should be normal. Even if you've broke up with your partner, to be there for your kids should be normal. That's not even an option. That's not even a question. My thing is, what can be hard is trying to be the father that your children want you to be. Like, that just like, they just love everything about you. And I think that's very difficult. I mean, especially when it comes to discipline and stuff like that. It's like, like, this happens with some people, right? I haven't experienced it. And obviously my children are still young. But there's some people that will tell their parents, I hate you. Like, they'll shout and just say, I hate you. And that, when you think about that, that must really bring someone down. You know what I mean? Because that's deep. And we see this a lot. Like, I'm a person, I used to watch a lot of Murray, what's the other guy? Basically a lot of chat shows, yeah, Jerry Springer and everything there, yeah. Right, so I would see, like, about relationships, or relationships with the parents and the children. And then you'll find, like, there's some episodes where, like, the children's just wild, and they're just wilding out. They're just getting angry with the parents, swearing at them, throwing chairs at them, fighting them, all of that, right? And you're like, hold on, why is this kid like this? You know what I mean? This kid's got problems or something. But sometimes, yeah, and no parent deserves this, no parent, but sometimes it's just the way you deal with your kids. So some of these parents, they don't show their kids discipline, but at the same time they don't show love as well. So, like, you got to have a bit of both. And that doesn't mean to say that you have to hit them. It's not just discipline. It's not about beating. Discipline also can be just that look, or, you say things. And if they're used to that look, they see you look a certain way, they know. Do you know what I mean? And that's not to say that every kid's gonna be like surrender kind of thing just because you've looked at them funny. There's gonna be kids that are like, so, and that's when you have to go even more, even more tougher. But at the same time, there's ways around disciplining your kids without hitting them. And I know, and you know what, coming from a Jamaican background, obviously you laugh at these things and you say, well, like, I used to get licked with the belt, or I used to get hit with the slipper, the sugar cane, or whatever the case may be, bamboo stick. I used to get licked, right? I used to get one backhand in my head, like all these kind of things. And there's people that will be like, really? You used to get that? That's mad. Like, my mum didn't even shout at me, you know what I mean? So parents deal with kids all differently. Like, everyone's different, right? Not every single parent are the same. All the parents are different, right? And so with that being said, like, just knowing that as a father, for example, um, like me as a father, I know where to draw the line. Even though children can kind of, they push your buttons. And why I say I know how to draw the line, not saying I know how to like I'm just this perfect dad that knows when not to shout and just doesn't shout and doesn't go crazy and da da da. My point is, I know how to show love straight away, like after, know how to feel guilty. You know, there's some parents that don't feel no remorse, so it's just like, it makes sense why they're just caning them, and then they'll chat to them for like 4 days. You know what I mean? Or like act like everything's all fine when people come to the house. It's like, yeah, we're doing great, you know, with the kids, and then the kids are seeing this other side to you and thinking, but no, you was like, you nearly killed me. You just nearly killed me, and now you're telling everyone everything's fine and we're doing great, and like, come on. So sometimes you have to have that remorse, and you have to be like, you know what? You have to even feel guilty about shouting sometimes. I know it seems minor, but shouting can still affect children. Imagine you shouting every day. Like, really, it should be a case of, don't do that again. What you did, just don't do that again. And when they know not to do that again, and sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it might not work, right? It seems to work with me. And that's a blessing in disguise, because some kids are out of order, you know what I mean? You tell them about 1,000 times and they're still doing the same thing, right? They're still doing the same thing. And that's not to say like a week later they've done the same thing. That's a bit different. But I'm saying, like, you know, consistently throughout the day they're doing the same thing. There's no way they should be doing the same thing throughout the day consistently. Like, say that, for example, the kids are playing football in the house and you've told them not to. If they're still kicking the ball and it's hitting the window, it's hitting the table, and you've just said, can you stop? And you've now, your voice is raising, they can see you're angry and they're still doing the same thing, they're taking a mick. Like, what's really going on? They don't respect you at all. And that's when it becomes a problem. But if you just have to tell them, let's say, for example, the second time, because, you know, some kids don't even listen the first time, they're just not listening, right? You told them twice, okay, let's say 3 times, right? That's enough, yeah? Third strike, that's enough. You kick the ball again, you see what happens. All it is sometimes you just have to give them a warning, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we're not in Jamaica no more. We're in the UK. We're not in Africa, you know what I mean? We're not in, I don't want to name certain countries because some people might just be like, "Bro, why are you naming my country?" But yeah, like Africa, right? Obviously it's a continent. I didn't want to name countries, right? In case someone, you know what I mean? That's why I said Jamaica, because I'm Jamaican, so no one can't really say nothing. Or Guyana, right? My dad's from Guyana, no one can't say nothing. So yeah, man, just like in general, let's say, for example, you know, like people in Jamaica, parents in Jamaica, right? It's just normal to lick man down with the cane. Even teachers are disciplined. The kids, they got the old school kind of, you know, obviously they used to do that here in the UK where teachers will hit the kids with a cane. Thinking about that is crazy, because now it's just unacceptable for parents to hit children. So imagine, like, back then, like, we weren't even that long ago, they were doing it in schools. Now that's something I totally disagree with. I remember when I was in school and the teacher said we need to bring the cane back because he was old school. And he used to joke about it, but he's like, that's what we need to do, is bring the cane back. And then everyone will ask, they'll be like, "Sir, what do you mean by the cane?" Like, some people didn't know what it was, innit? Obviously I knew, and I'm like, come on, man, can't bring no cane back. And then people are asking questions, and then it's like, yeah, back in the day we used to get the cane and da 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 da. And then people are like laughing, but it's like, for me, it's like, bro, like, that's serious, like, you know what I mean? So, and I always used to stick in my mind. I used to be like, "Wow, what if they bring that back?" And with my mind, my imagination's wild sometimes. So I'm just picturing, like, me just getting caned with it. Because You know what I mean? I used to mess about a lot in school, so I used to think, raw, if they brought that back, then what? So in my head, in my mind, I'm thinking, nah, I don't want that to come back. And by the same time, I'm like, bro, my mom's got my back, because my mom would never she would disagree with that 100%. You know, like obviously back in Jamaica, it's different. Parents are like, yeah, it's fine. You know what I mean? Just lick my child if he's messing about. Give him, discipline him. But I feel like if they tried to bring it back, which they're definitely never gonna do now, because they won't even accept parents hitting their children. You know what I mean? Like they don't even allow. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's against the law now. Do you know what I mean? But that shouldn't faze anyone. Like, don't look at it like, okay, so how am I supposed to discipline my child? Listen, you can just literally give them one look, talk to them. Like, this is what my mum used to do. She used to just give me one look, and that's what I've learned to do with my kids. You know what I mean? And my mum did a bit more than that. You know what I mean? I used to get, you know what I mean, and get the, you know what I mean. I ain't gonna mention, but yeah, like I would get proper discipline, right? And that makes me think as well about, like, I've always wondered what it would be like to be disciplined by a man, by your father, right? Because I've never had that. I haven't been disciplined by any male, really, to be fair. I remember there was one time my uncle got mad with me, got mad, and he dragged me up, he grabbed my jacket like that and put me up against the wall. And I remember being scared. Like, it stuck with me because he's only done that once before, and I must have really rattled him, and I can't remember what I did, but he got mad. And I just remember no one said nothing. You know when you're looking at your mum, like, you're looking, like, no one's saying nothing. And it's just like, okay, I messed up. But I was really young, and I didn't like that, and that made me feel like it wasn't the same as when my mum gets mad. Like, obviously, you get shook, because if you know your mum's coming with a belt or slipper or something, you're shook, innit? But he didn't have anything. He didn't have no slipper, he didn't have no belt, nothing. He just dragged me up against the wall. And I was shook. I was petrified. So, in saying that now, it makes you just think, like, okay, man, the way the father disciplines his son or daughter is just so different to how a woman does it. How a mother disciplines her child. It's just so different. I mean, and this is why I think a lot of kids, they just go out and become wild. They just go out in the street and just do crazy stuff. It's not even about the household. A lot of people seem to think that a child, like for example, there's many people who are just bad. They're on the road. They're the biggest bad boy. Like, they'll act like proper gangsters. They're doing crazy stuff, robbing people. You know what I mean? Like, dealing drugs, everything. But then when they get home, they're silent. Mom, can I have... No, be quiet. I'm not saying nothing. You know what I mean? Like, they'll talk, and then the mom's just shutting them down. That's it. Don't say a word. I don't want you to talk right now. I'm watching TV. Or, you know what I mean? But out on road, you're not having that. So it just goes to show the respect for the parents. Sometimes you just look at, and it's weird because you find someone that's just disrespectful to his parents, don't give a damn, but at school, he's the best student. You know what I mean? And this happens, and it's weird. Like, I've always thought, why does that happen? It's like my kids, for example, obviously I put them in place, but there's times they might sulk and act a bit stroppy, but I know they don't do that in school. You know what I mean? You know, when they talk back, they might talk back or say something under their breath, or, you know what I mean? And you're like, hold on, every day the teacher's telling me how good you are. Oh, he's so great, he's so da-da-da. And it's like, hold on. Like, I've told my kids this before. I said, look, you better start respecting everybody in the house the same way you respect the teachers, right? And it's like it's funny because my daughter she's very clever, Allahumma barak. So she does, and she's very she gets worried. Like, there's times where I've said, you don't need to. Like, it's something that I said that you don't need to do that, and then she's saying, but my teacher said I have to. So it's like, I'm like, okay, you're really worried about breaking rules in school. Do you know what I mean? But when it comes to, and I'm not trying to make her break rules, but I was confused about the whole thing. I was just like, well, you're not gonna get in trouble. Do you know what I mean? You're not gonna get in trouble. But obviously, she believed that she would have, so she was a bit worried. And so it makes me think, like, okay, why do they feel? Why do they feel like they should listen to teachers more than the parents, if that makes sense? But at the end of the day, having kids that are doing great in school is ultimately is good anyways, you know what I mean? Because that's another thing you don't need to worry about, because you know that they're doing well in school. And I just feel like when children are doing well in school, that will have an effect on their behaviour, make them do well in terms of their behaviour, and they'll be more respectable. And it's just a few, there's not every kid's like this, but there's some obviously that are respectable to the teachers and disrespectful to the parents. So I would say with my kids, obviously they're very respectful towards the teachers, and also they are very respectful to us, as parents. But at the same time, they do, as kids do, there's that little moment sometimes where you can see the stroppiness, and you're like, fix up your attitude. Even though it's not towards you, it's just like, that they want to say something, but they know they can't. So it's like, and even sometimes, like I said, kids will be kids, and they're going to say something back, you know what I mean? But they know they don't mean it, you know what I mean? Them kids that mean it out there, there's some kids that are just bad, and they'll just say something, and it's like, what did you say? And they'll turn around and say, you heard what I said. And they don't care. I mean, I feel sorry for the parents that have to go through that, because especially when they don't discipline their child, it's just like they're literally watching them take the mick, and they're doing it day in and day out. And this happens. Unfortunately, this happens. Without naming anyone, I want people to let me know in the comments if there's anyone that who have had a hard time with their children, because I couldn't imagine it, you know what I mean? Because more times with my children, it's all smiles, games, happiness, love. More times it's the kids clashing. They have their moments, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, they have their moments, as most kids do. Brothers and sisters, they clash sometimes. Love and hate relationship, you know what I mean? But I'm glad that's not with us as the parents. Obviously, my kids are not teenagers yet, you know what I mean? The moment that they reach teenagers, it's going to be a test. We're going to see what happens. But, I personally believe that, and obviously Allah knows best, but I believe that my kids will be very, very mature. Let me not say nothing. Let me actually not. But I believe that they understand now, and that is the main thing. I mean, if they understand from early, then it can only go upwards. It can only be better. Whereas I feel like if you're just letting your kids get away with everything up until they're a teenager, and then now you decide that you're gonna discipline them, it's too late. You're trying to tell them not to do things as a teenager. They're walking out the door. They're not even listening to you. In matter of fact, they're coming home a week later, and you don't know what they've been up to. How about that? So that's when if you can't do nothing as a parent, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? If you can't tell your kid, like you're too scared to say something, but you're the parent and you're too scared to like tell them no, don't do that because you fear that they're gonna get mad with you. That's a problem. That's a big problem. And one thing I've noticed as well, that the girls are usually like very close to the fathers, and the boys are usually close to the mums. That's why they say mummy's boy. You know what I mean? Daddy's girl. How these terms come up, right? And I've witnessed this. I mean, my son's getting more closer to me now, but I remember when he was younger, it was just like mummy, mummy, mummy all the time. He's still the same, but he's got a lot closer with me. You know what I mean? And then it's like my daughters now, they've been close. But my youngest daughter, funny enough, I feel like she's definitely more close to her mother, right? To my wife, she's more closer to her mother, right? But I feel like my second daughter, my eldest daughter, I feel like, obviously, in general, I feel like every kid is closer to their mother. Like, in general, they want to be closer to their mother because it's just natural. It's just very natural. But I will say that I feel like my characteristics and my second daughter's characteristics are very similar, and I think that's why she's very much close to me. I won't say she's closer than she is to I won't say she's closer to me than she is to her mum. I won't say that. I just personally feel like they're all closer to my wife because it's just natural. But I will say she's definitely a daddy's girl. My daughter Taya, she's the eldest daughter. She's very much like me in many ways. So I feel like, yeah, we have a good bond. But I have such a great bond with all my kids, and that's just that. It feels amazing. And if you're not a parent and you haven't experienced this, wait till you experience it. I'm telling you now, if you never loved anyone before, you're definitely going to love your kids. Because, you know, some people, they've never loved anyone before because they don't have love for anyone. Some people are very angry, traumatized. You know, the father wasn't there. They're angry at the mother for some reason. Who knows? But there's people just angry with the whole world. When you have kids, I guarantee you're not going to be angry with your kids. And more times you'll find this, that they split up with the mother, they're having baby mother drama, they don't like the mother, or vice versa, the mother don't like the father, he's a waste man, this, that and the other. But when it comes to your kids, you love them. You love them. Even though your kid looks just like the same father that you hate, but you love him. You love your kid. You love your son. You love your daughter to bits. And that's for the most cases, obviously. And then, obviously, you get some cases where, unfortunately, the mother's ducked out, the father's ducked out, the kids have to go care now. So that's another side of thing that I want to talk about. I would really want to touch on this. For anybody who's gone to care because their parents have left them, or whatever the situation was, they were on drugs, I don't know the situation, but everyone's got a different type of situation and that's led them to being in care. And I can never ever imagine what it's like to be in care because I've never been in care myself. However, I've had friends who have been in care, who've been brought up or raised in the social care system, and from what I've heard, it's definitely a challenge, definitely a test, definitely hard. It's nothing like being at home with your parents or a parent, mother or father. It's nothing like that because you're away from your parents because they were on drugs or whatever the case may be. And we can, as people who've never been to care, can never walk in their shoes or tell them what it's like. But I can only imagine hardship and struggle, and it's just being difficult and something that you have to get used to, and it's definitely a challenge, no doubt about it. And I would love for anybody to reach out to me, anybody who's been in care or has been in that situation, or if you know someone who's been in care, share this video, let them know that it's, you know, obviously you have to watch the whole video, it's towards the end, and just let me know if there's like, I want to see a few comments. I'll be honest with you, a lot of my videos I don't get much comments. It would be great if you could share this video, because I want to dialogue. I want to exchange, words, even numbers, to speak to someone and to get people to reach out to me so we can have a conversation. Even if you want to link up and you want to talk and you want to record a video, you want to talk about your situation growing up in the care system, let me know, man, because I feel like there's a lot of things that we can talk about, a lot of things, and it correlates with the whole father issue, the father not being around, etc., etc. And that even leads to this point of single mothers. I have to big up the single mothers every single time. And also, I'm not going to leave out the fathers. I want to big up every father who's there for their children. Also, I want to big up every father who's, and this is, okay, so I want to big up every father who's there for their children, whether you're with the mother or not. Whether you're with the mother or not. The reason why I say that is because there's many guys out there who are not with their baby mother or their wife. Let's say baby mother, because that's most cases they're not married and it's just a situation they got into and they didn't even love each other in the first place, or maybe they did and they fell out of love and they're just in an awkward situation now. They hate each other and tear. So the reason why I've mentioned the fathers who are not with their partner but they're there for their kids, whether they're with their partner or not. Reason why I say that is because the ones, like I said, there's many guys out there who love to see their children every single day, but it's impossible because they're not with the mother, right? We all know that living in the UK, in America, and many of these places, right, the mother is the one who can pull the strings. I'm not saying it's the one that wears the trousers or whatever the case may be, but she can pull the strings. If she wants to be cruel and not let you see the child, that's what's going to happen. And you're going to have to take it to court and all this kind of madness. And more times she's more likely to win, right? So that's just how it is. And so for those kind of guys there, but they're like, they can't see their children, but they really want to see their children. It's been months since they last seen their children. Keep your head up, yeah? Just know that, hardship don't last forever. And as long as you know that you've stuck to your word, you always want to see your kids, but somehow there's the breakdown in the middle, and you can't see your kids. Maybe your kids don't know that. Maybe your kids think that you've just gone missing. Maybe the mother's telling them that. Who knows? But at least you know, and you've got a story to tell. So at least when you eventually see your child and they're able to speak, they're mature age where they understand, you can tell them, I wanted to see you every single day, but I couldn't because your mother wouldn't let me. You understand? And then for the single mothers out there, actually I didn't really big up the fathers that are there and they're with the wife and it's worked out and whatnot. For those fathers like myself, you're married or you got a partner and you're still with your partner, you're still with her, and you've got children together and everything's hunky-dory, everything's great, and I just want to say you're doing well, and don't stop, keep going, and yeah, man, that's my advice to, there's not much to say for anyone who's really there and things are working out, everything's fine. When everything's all good, there's not much to say except just keep it up, keep going, keep looking after your kids, and hope everything continues to work out with your partner and whatnot, or your wife. But single parent mothers, keep your head up and keep going, because there's many single parent mothers. And by the way, when I'm saying single parent mothers, I'm talking about those who they're single parent mothers, but they are not they're not violating the fathers. They're not trying to stop the kids from seeing the father, because you can hate the father all you like. You can hate your baby daddy all you like, but you're only messing up the kid's head. You mess up the children's head because it's either you're telling them lies and saying he ain't there, he don't want to see you, the kid, he don't want to see you lot. It's either that or you're telling the truth and you know the baby father doesn't want nothing to do with the kids. That's all good, you saying that, but sometimes you have to kind of mellow it down in a sense that you can't be telling your kids all this information at a young age. You know what I mean? It's too young. It's too young. If they ask questions and they say, "By the way, where's daddy?" and you can tell the truth. You can say in a kind of calm manner. You don't have to say this man is blah blah blah. Men are no good and this, that, and the other. Because what's gonna happen if you have a son, when he's older, he's now gonna think that, "Wow, men are no good. I must not be good. How am I gonna be good? Like, how do you become a good man if every man is rubbish?" Because growing up, I heard many women. I grew up around loads of women, right? And many of them were saying men are rubbish, and that's all I remembered. I remember just being young, hearing men are rubbish, men are trash. I rather be on my own. I'm a single lady, independent, don't need a man, blah blah blah. That's all I heard. You know what I mean? I could have turned around and said, you know what? Women, they don't care about men anyway, so I might as well stay single. You know what I mean? I might as well just do what I can, just get what I want from women and bounce and just treat them unfairly. Like, I could have been like that. I could have came out like that. I could have said the same thing, women are no good. But no, I you know what I mean? My mindset weren't like that. And that's not to say that I'm better than anyone, because I know that it's very hard for women, because let's be real, yeah? If you're not with... And that's not to say non-religious men are rubbish, because there's many men out there who maybe are atheists, or they don't believe in religion, they don't have a connection with God, but they're there for their wife. They're still with their wife and kids. They look after their kids, this, that, and the other. There's people like that. But in saying that, I've noticed that, for example, if you look at Muslims, many of the parents are, there for their kids, right? Even if they get divorced, the father's there for the kids. This is what I'm trying to say. This is what I mean. And that is the case for many Muslims. Let's be real. That the father are there for the kids. Compared to non-Muslims, we make a comparison. We see there's a big difference, right? A very big difference. And that's not to say that there ain't no Muslims who got parents that haven't run away, or haven't just disappeared and haven't been responsible. That's not to say that there ain't men like that who are irresponsible, or mothers like that who are irresponsible and don't look after their children and have, messed up and whatever the case may be, right? So, just in saying that, man, just my advice to every single parent out there is just do the best that you can. It's not easy. I mean, the more kids you have, the harder it is, but at the same time, the more kids that you have, the more blessings you have received. I want you to keep that in mind. The more kids you have, maybe in some cases, the more harder it will be. But the more kids that you have is the more blessings you have received. Like, I can't put into words exactly how one should feel when they have children, even if they have a lot of children. Like, you always hear people say, "Oh, how's that person managed with so many kids? They messed up. They had their whole life in front of them." Listen, you know how many people have... There's men out there, or women as well, who have loads of children, right? And yet they're very successful. They're very they're very upbeat in the sense that they love life and everything's normal. It's not all this doom and gloom. Oh, he's got 10 kids that are crazy and they can't leave the house. They're stuck in the kitchen. They're stuck in it. It's not like that. You know what I mean? It's not like that at all, man. You can have fun with your children. Like, the more children you have, I can imagine, would seem crazy, but you can imagine, like, imagine when you're playing a game, like, you've got everyone together, you're playing one big game, you know what I mean? Everyone's happy, like, everyone's joyful, like, that's the life, do you know what I mean? And me being the only child from my mother, like, my father had six kids, six of us, I think. But my mum, she only had me, right? So I'm like the golden child, as they say. Like, you know what I mean? I'm that solo child. It's probably why I'm an introvert, but yeah, and I don't mind being on my own at all, whatsoever. But at the same time, I did grow up looking at other people and thinking, I wonder what it would be like having a brother or sister. I never really thought like, you know what, I really want a brother and sister. I never really thought like that. If anything, I remember saying to myself, as I got older, it would be nice to have like a younger brother or sister. But then now when I think about it, it's a good thing I didn't, because I always think, what if they were in trouble a lot? I would have to defend my brother, and more times, imagine, especially how the children are nowadays. Imagine me just, you know what I mean, defending my little brother or whatever, and then Sank gets pulled out and da-da-da, because you know that you're going to defend your family to the end, till death, right? So, you know what I mean, it could have been jail, death, whatever the case may be. But me just growing up for myself, I had to defend myself, and that was it. And it was more case, I didn't get in trouble that much, so I'm more safe. But imagine just having loads, imagine having more than one brother. Imagine having like 5, 6, 7 brothers. There's gonna be at least one or two that's just on road, that's bad, that's getting into drama or something. You're gonna have to defend them at some point. So that's where it gets a bit mad, a bit sticky. So yeah, man. And that's another thing. It's like, I don't understand how people don't want to have children. There's people out there that don't want to have children. I don't get it. Being a father is amazing. Now, being a mother must be even more amazing. And obviously, I can't speak for the mothers out there, but I could imagine, even though they go through that 9 months of labour, through that pain, that suffering, you know what I mean, of 9 months, that labour, the pain, and obviously the struggle within that 9 months, right? I could never imagine what it's like being a woman and what they have to go through. But being a father, it's just amazing. Like, I mean, especially when they get to that age where you can talk to them. Because I remember when my kids were very like small, and it was like, this is all good. Like, I don't know what they want. You know, like with their crying, or you know what I mean. It's like you're unsure. Like, now it's just so different. Like, my kids, if they cry, I say, "What's wrong?" And they'll say more times. Sometimes they don't even say nothing. They just cry. It's like, "What's wrong?" What is wrong? You know what I mean? Something's happened or whatever. The kids have had a fight or whatever the case may be, and you're just like, what's wrong? But I mean, when they're babies and when they're small, and they're very small, tiny in your hand, and you're just like, the baby's crying or the baby just, you know what I mean? There's something, and it's like, you're just like, oh, I don't know. But every parent's different, innit? By the grace of Allah, like, there's a lot of, I can handle babies. Like, I remember my wife telling me, like, you got a lot of patience. Like, I got a lot of patience I feel like I had more patience for my kids when they were babies than now. You know what I mean? I don't know why, but yeah, I think everyone's different. There's some people really can't handle it when children are just babies. Some people can't handle it when they're 5, 6 and they've got loads of energy and they're running about, going crazy, jumping on the walls. Some people can't handle that. And then there's other people who can't handle when they're teenagers, and probably the reason is because the children have become too feisty and they're just rude and they're just, you know what I mean, just disrespecting their parents. I think if your children are disrespectful, then obviously you're not gonna, you know what I mean, you're gonna be like, why didn't I have this child? That's what, you know, some people think like that. Why did this happen? You know what I mean? But then there's other people who, you know, by the grace of Allah, they get blessed with a child that's just calm, relaxed, patient. Well, not calm and relaxed, because we know pretty much all children are just bouncing off the wall, it's going crazy. But you know what I mean? Like, there are some children are very respectful, very nice and kind and loving and caring, and you know what I mean? It's like when I see my kids, right, my daughter and my son, they're like 1 year apart, and I take them to school sometimes, and when they're going to school, it's like you see them randomly, they're holding hands. I don't even have to say hold hands, we're crossing the road. They're just randomly holding hands, they're showing love. You know what I mean? They're brothers and sisters. They know that they're brothers and sisters, and it's a shame that we grow up, as we get older, we become more distant. You'll find that there's brothers and sisters who they ain't spoke to each other for years. Not just because one's on the other side of the world. No, they could be across the road from each other, but they no longer talk, and this happens. And it's a shame, but you know, it happens. And with that being said, I just feel like, and that's one thing I want to raise my kids upon, is just we gotta be local, we gotta be together, we gotta be, unless it's, you know what I mean, some life changing situation where you gotta make money and it's a really good job or something, you know what I mean, like, not just like I want to move out the area, because like it's gotta be some good beneficial reason. But more times, I'll be honest with you, I'll be upset if my children went away and they you know, when they're older and they want to move somewhere else. I would love my family to just be in the surrounding areas, just local, to the point that I could just walk there. Alright, maybe not that local, but you know, like just not far at all, in the borough, you know what I mean? At least in a city, man. I mean, some people, the children move out the city, and it is what it is. I mean, people have to get on with their lives. You can't make your kids listen to you forever. They're going to grow up and do as they please, and as they should, because they're big people, innit? You know, and that's just how it is. So I just feel like it's very important to have that bond and have that time and that closeness together, not just via social media. I mean, like, you know, seeing each other weekly, on a weekly basis and whatnot. But obviously, if you live far from each other, it's not going to be a weekly basis. And that's my point. I don't like this kind of, we're becoming distant, you know, we're distant from each other, and it's normal, and it's becoming more normalized, right? Except for some communities, without mentioning, you know, names, but there's some communities who literally, they have their grandmother across the road, their mother next door to them, their brother and sister a few doors away, you know what I mean, their uncle at the end of the road, but everyone's on the same road. And I'm not going that far. I'm not saying that my children have to live on the same road when they get older and they, you know, they're married and whatnot, and they've got children. No, I'm saying just local. And yeah, man, I just feel like just having children is just a beautiful thing. But obviously time flies, and there's going to be a time where your kids are big adults. So for anybody out there who's watching it right now, who's tuned in, I just want to say that one day your children are going to be bigger than you, right? Your son is going to be 6 foot, 7 foot, whatever the case may be, but he's going to be bigger than you, right? Or same size, maybe smaller. But, you know, let's be real, some of the kids are massive today. So more times, that generation, you know, they're going to be bigger than you, and they're not going to listen to you. But they should listen to you, right? But let's be real, more times it's going to be, you know, they're going to think that they're too big for their boots. But yeah, man, the point is just having that connection, and just knowing that, okay, I'm the parent, but at the same time, you have your plans. I understand that you want to move here, or you want to go here, you want to do this, you want to do that. There's not much I can say. I can advise you and hope that you change your mind, but that's all I can do. I still love you, this, that, and the other. There's just ways to talk to your children, innit? Because we never know what our children are going to grow up to be like. We never know. And that's what's scary for me. That I don't know what my son is going to be like when he's older. We have this picture, we have this mindset that I want my son to be like that. If he's like this, if he, you know what I mean, he does this as a job, you know, because we're selfish as parents, we think like this. I I want my son to do this. I want my daughter to do that. I want my son to marry this person, my daughter to marry this person. Like, we have these ideas, but they got different ideas from us. You know what I mean? Sometimes they're gonna do stuff that really gonna make you think, why did they do that? It's gonna be very questionable. Like, why you make that decision? Like, what's wrong with you? But at the end of the day, everyone has their own path, and it's just important that we just have that connection and we have a good example upon our kids so that they don't make no mistakes, or very bad mistakes. Obviously, as human beings, we're all gonna make mistakes, but I mean, just them crazy decisions where it's like life changing. You don't want your children to do anything like that. You know, obviously, as they grow up, or when they're very young, you don't want them making bad decisions. So yeah, man, and that's gonna happen anyway. But really serious bad mistakes. And may Allah protect our children from harm, or any problems. But yeah, man, like, this was a very intriguing, is that a word? Intriguing topic to talk about, parenthood. And there's probably a lot of things that I didn't talk about that I should have touched on and spoke about. But nevertheless, we got to an hour, which is the point that I wanted to get to. We spoke about parents, what did I speak about? It's all on here. It's all recorded. So does it even matter? Does it even matter? But right now I'm really tired. It's I don't know what time it is, but it's past midnight. You can see I look tired. Right now it's probably the lighting. Yeah, the lighting that is keeping me awake right now. I'm very tired. Bear in mind, I don't have coffees no more. Never was really into coffees anyway. But yeah, man, I think it's time to go to bed because it's late. But you may be watching this in the daytime, so therefore it's not late. But I did record this after midnight, so therefore it's late for me. And yeah, I'm just waffling now. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what other topics or subjects you want me to speak about in the comment box section. Share this, like this, subscribe. And because of that algorithm, right? Because of that algorithm is a bit messed up, and it's hard to get views on YouTube. And TikTok's a lot different. It's easier. Like, there's many different platforms that the algorithm's just different in many different ways, right? But one thing I do know is if you like this, it will help the algorithms, and hopefully more people will see this video. So like this video, share this video, comment as well. That helps, I think, maybe. But yeah, let's engage, let's talk, ask me questions. Feel free to ask me any questions. You never know. Based on your question, I might just make a video. So yeah, with that being said, hope you enjoyed this episode. It was episode 2, Parenthood. And yeah, till the next time, which may be tomorrow, I might record tomorrow, depending on how I feel. But yeah, until the next episode, peace.